Before we write our second test, what I want to do with you here is go to the top of this class and right click on this play button right here, or actually just click on it, and then you see that we have run student service test with coverage. We can also achieve the same by right clicking, go to more, debug, and then run with coverage. So let me just run with coverage, and there we go. So you can see that we actually have this pop up right here, and this is the coverage. And what I want to do is the following. So you can basically click on it and you can see that in here. So let's just zoom in a little bit, or actually expand this a little bit. You can see that we have, so this is the coverage, right? So the class student service right here. So the class has 75% right here coverage. The line coverage is 53%. And then the rest you can see, we have some numbers here, but we didn't actually do much around this area. So let me just hide this and then go to student service. And what I want you to see now is, have a look. We have these lines, so green and red. So green means that this actually has been covered by our test, but red means that we are missing some tests. Yes, we are missing some tests. So we're not testing this scenario right here, right? And this is what this coverage is telling us. So IntelliJ is quite powerful and quite nice when it comes to testing and, giving us information about what we need to test. So let's go back to the student service test in here. And what we're going to do is test that when the email is taken, our code will throw an exception. So in here, let's just basically grab all of this, and usually with testing, there's lots of copy and pasting. So paste that, and then we're going to change the name for, so will, and then throw when email is, and then taken. So here's what we're going to do. So this will be the following. So given the student, and then when, so when this is called, we want to make sure that we have an exception being thrown. So this will be combined, so when and then. And at this point, we can actually get rid of all of this. So just like that, and that as well. So now with assert J, we have assert and then thrown and then by, and here should be assert and then that, and then thrown by. So import static, and this will come from assertions, and in here, so this works as follows. So this takes a lambda just like that, and then here we can say dot and then has and then message, and we can say has message containing. And basically, so if I go back to the actual test, so this is the message, so email, and then this is taken. So let's just paste that, and then here I'm going to say that, and this will be student.email. So this is basically Jamila, right? So this email right here. And also we can say, so before that we can say dot is and then instance of, and if I go back again to the basically student service, bad request exception. So let's just take that, paste that, dot, and then class, and there we go. So basically this is what we want to test, right? But now if I run this, I want to show you that. So let's just run this. this will not work, and you'll see why in a second. So there we go. So expecting code to raise a throwable. But what is happening is, so let me actually just run this in debug mode. So debug, and let me go and put a breakpoint just here, right? So let's debug again. And this will make sure you understand exactly what's happening. There we go. And have a look. So Boolean, and then exists email. So this exists email is false, right? This is false. And we want it to be true. But currently we're not telling our mock that when this method is called with this email or any given email to return true. So by default, if you don't specify a return value, it will just default to false, which is our case. So let's just stop this and then go back to the test. And in here, what I want to do is say given, and here let me just import the static method, and this will come from Mockito. So bdd mockito.given, and here I'm going to say student repository dot, and then our method, so select exists. There we go. And then we can pass the email. So here I'm going to say student dot get email, and after this I'm going to say dot will return, and then the Boolean value, which is true. So let's run this again in debug mode. And now check this out. We said true, and which means that this will fall inside of this if statement. So now we are controlling exactly what happens when this select exists email is invoked. So let me just close this, or actually stop this. And then here, let me go back to the test, and we can run the test. And there we go. You can see that the test did pass. Now here, I could also say, let's say that I do have, for example, basically I said email, right? So if I run the test again, this will fail. And there we go. So you can see that expecting throwable, message, email, Jamila taken, and then basically this was what we are expecting, right? Which is incorrect. So I just want to show you that this is actually working. So email and then space there, and we are good to go. So one thing here also is what you can do is if you don't want to pass, for example, the email here, you can say any and then string. So if I run this again, you can see that this works. And there you have it. Finally, one little improvement that we can do with this test is that right here, you see that we are asserting that thrown by, which means that if I go back to the service in here, this method is never called, right? Because we throw this exception right here. So let's go ahead and actually reflect that in our test. So here, after this line right here, I can say verify, and then I'm going to pass the mock, so student, and then repository, and then I'm going to press comma in there, and then the verification mode. So this will be never dot, and then save, and we can say any. So just like that, right? So we are saying that this repository right here, so our mock, it never saves any student. So again, if I go back to the service in here, you can see that this method right here, it's never executed. And this is what I'm actually saying in here. So if I run the test again, and you can see that this also works. Now, if I collapse this and then scroll up, so the final thing that I want to do is let's run this class right here. So here we're going to run this with coverage. There we go. And let me collapse these stats in here and then close all of this, go back to the actual service class. And now you can see that before this line was red, but now it's been covered by our test, which is really, really cool. So there you have it. And also you can see that we have covered this test right here. This test is fully tested, or actually this method is fully tested. And the only thing that we have to do is actually test the lead student. And this, in fact, will be an exercise for you. Go ahead and implement the tests for this method right here called the lead student. And I'm going to give you the solution in the next video.